Hello, welcome to Spotlight, brighter than the colours of a Manx spring.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
This evening, we hear from the new Manx youth bard who puts a lot of emphasis on the Manx. Another very Manx event, the Braaid Eisteddfod, takes place this weekend. We hear from a stalwart of the scene, Tilbury. On a slightly larger scale, the Isle of Man Choral Society's spring concert with the Isle of Man Symphony Orchestra at the Villa Marina is fast coming up. Choir director Mandy Griffin tells us more. And would you like to get back to blowing your own trumpet? If so, we hear from a band who'd like to see you at their next rehearsal. Remember, do get in touch with any creative artistic endeavours you might be involved in, planning, hoping to create, or would really like to, you know it, put in the spotlight. Yeah, I know, it's a play on words. Poetic, theatrical, musical, literary, ceramic, sculpture, drag. Yeah, you know the rest of the list. Bottom line is, get in touch if you haven't already. Howard Kane, with an E, at manxradio.com. Spotlight at manxradio.com. Tell me what you're up to. If it's something arty, we'll feature you on the show. I'll enjoy it, even if you won't. And who knows what it could lead to. Thanks very much to Ree and Alex minding the shop last week. I think Ree had done all the work chatting to the folk and then fell ill, so Alex manned the spotlight desk. Thank you both very much. Get well soon, Ree, if you haven't already. And whilst I was away, a new Manx youth bard was crowned. Happily, Manx Radio's Philly Gorn was on the scene and grabbed a word with the delighted young poet and, happily for me, did the interview in Manx and English.
So I'm talking to Matilda Watson, the eighth Manx youth bard, and the problem is I've just been doing an interview in Gilg in Manx, and I haven't quite got my English head back on yet. But yeah, Matilda, that's a fantastic achievement. What do you make of being the 8th Manx bard?
Guramaid, I'm quite excited to be the Manx bard. I'm very excited to do more work in Manx. I think it's a great opportunity, and I can't wait to help others with finding Manx in other aspects of the world, especially in poetry at the minute. With it being Year of the Manx, I think it's quite important to encourage that in all areas, so quite excited. And
you were lucky enough to benefit from an education at the Bunskull Gilgach, the Manx Language School at St John's. Has that sort of driven you on in terms of promoting the language?
Oh, definitely, because I think a lot of people don't realise what Manx is, really, that it is a language, but being from the Bunskull, they don't just teach you Manx, they kind of teach you what it means to be Manx and how it feels to be Manx. And I think it's very important for people in my position to show other people what it means, and that we are just trying to live how we want to live, and that Manx is real and Manx is here. So Bunskull is definitely to thank.
And you have unapologetically produced poems in Manx Gaelic. You don't have English alternatives.
No, for me, poetry is a Manx thing. It's always been in Manx. I've learned it through Manx. I've always appreciated the Manx poems just a little bit more. Not to say English poems are bad or anything, just Manx poems have always hit differently, and I think Manx poems are really important.
And that's quite a statement, really, because writing poetry isn't easy in any language, and the fact that you prefer to write in Manx Gaelic tells us a lot about what Manx means to you.
Yeah, it does. I mean, writing poems isn't easy, but it's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be but it's also not supposed to be a task. It's just when you feel it, you just kind of go for it. I never really wrote poems down. They were always just kind of circling around in my head, and if I thought one was nice, I just figured, I'll write it down. I'll give being the Manx Youth Bard a go. It'll be fun. Get some people inspired,
And you get to wear an amazing hat.
Oh yeah, I think I look super snazzy. I mean, I get this cool staff and the robe as well. I mean, I think this is just my new wardrobe from now on. Just wear it to school.
Marvellous. Well, you're going to tell us, you're going to recite a poem for us in Manx. Could you tell us a little bit about what the poem's about for those who aren't Manx speakers?
This poem is called Gilg. It's about Manx and how it feels to be a Manx speaker and how it personally felt for me in the Bunskull as a little kid, like speaking Manx, and how important it was to me. Gilg. To Gilg Ledger, Anjay Manon, Anjay McCree. Doughty Riol, Fain Sgiladach. As tre tam I smunik denuri, tam I ont sail Elia. Sail Pijagach as Lend of Ree. Sail Jesh as Manor. Sis tail glor oil shore, tan a letter and gilg dance magiet, as tan Vunskull, goil morn.
Well, Jinthamai, well done, Matilda Watson, the 8th Manx Youth Bard.
Thank you very much, I'm very excited.
Many congratulations to Matilda. I'm hoping to speak to her directly in English in the next week or two to hear more about her work and invite her to give us a poem here on Spotlight every month or so, perhaps. Another event which is unapologetically Manx is the Braaid Eisteddfod. Lord knows how many years it's been going on, and I think Dot Tilbury has been there for everyone. She spoke to Beth Espy, who asked Dot to explain just what an Eisteddfod is.
An Eisteddfod is a competition. We start off with hymn raising, of which Walter Gilby was very famous because every year he sang Onward Christian Soldiers. And people can sing any song, any hymn, and they've got to start it off in the right key that's written in the hymn book. Now, Wendy MacDowell, who's the accompanist, and Gareth Moore, who's the adjudicator, know all these keys off by heart, and Wendy just sits there, playing the piano. And the nearer you get to the right key, it should go through. If you're absolutely bang on, you go through to the final. And I always sing Onward Christian Soldiers in memory of Walter.
Oh, that's lovely. I mean, should we ask you to do a rendition of that now, or should we say
I can do.
Can you? Okay. Right.
Onward Christian soldiers marching off to war. I think that's enough.
I think that probably is, but that was very lovely. Eisteddfod, it's a hard word to spell, isn't it? I was trying to write it down.
Oh, yeah. Don't even bother.
We won't worry about that just
now.
now.
The actual Manx name is a Croonyak.
Okay.
Because when I was little, I went to every Croonyak and Eisteddfod going with the Ellis family from Ballygarry. And we went off in the dormobile, and there was the couple of girls from the Ellis family and myself, and we do pretty well. Good at spelling, good at general knowledge.
And so basically anybody can turn up. You don't have to pre-book tickets or anything like that?
No, you don't have to pre-book tickets or anything. You just turn up, park your car. There's car park attendants to help you park. And then you go in, and if you can have cash on the door, it's £7.50. And for that, you get a marvellous, marvellous country supper.
I have heard great things about the food.
In fact, if you didn't even want to listen to anybody singing or doing poetry, it's worth going for the supper.
Is the supper first then? You can have food and then leave?
You've got to persevere to the interval. And then, but everything's homemade and everything's, it's all wonderful. And we've got one or two good chefs at the Braaid who make wonderful cakes, and it's really brilliant.
And I mean, you mentioned the Guild there. I suppose if you were thinking that maybe the Guild was on the horizon, that this might be a good testing ground if you wanted to practice your singing or even some poetry perhaps.
It's excellent because you've got the audience there, and honestly they're the best audience in the world, and you can just get used to sort of getting up in front of people. So any child or anybody that wants a little bit of practice, if you play the piano, we've got a lovely piano. It's not a rubbishy one like you used to get in church hall with about 3 notes working. It's a really good piano. So we're a kind audience. We encourage everybody, and nearly everybody gets a certificate.
Well, that was going to be my question. What do you get? I mean, not that I'm all about the competition, but you did mention it was a little bit of a competition. Is there a first prize?
A first prize, second prize. There's lots of joint third prizes with about 4 people. Because if there's like 5 in a class and 3 have got a certificate, you do a highly commended or something. Yeah. We like to be kind, and it depending on what mood we're in, But as I said, we've got lovely adjudicators. There's me, who does the literary, and Gareth, who does the musical, and then, of course, Wendy on the piano, and Chris Lyons, who's the chairman.
And what are you looking for? You're not necessarily looking for pitch perfect? Is it just about giving it all you got?
We need pitch perfect.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm only joking. No, it's... I was told once that I had a lousy voice, but I had perfect pitch. So I'm usually pitch perfect if anybody's looking for pitch perfect, but I've got a lousy voice. That was one of the remarks I received.
If you've never been, now's your chance. It's only once a year. The Braaid Eisteddfod on this Saturday evening at the Braaid Hall, starting at 7:30pm and finishing at, well, who knows, 1am-ish? Possibly.
Spotlight. Brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
From the sometimes wonderfully ridiculous, just ask Dot if you don't believe me, to the always sublime. The Isle of Man Choral Society, along with the Isle of Man Symphony Orchestra, will be presenting their spring concert at the Villa Marina on the 29th of March, with a performance of The Armed Man and also Philip Stopford's Miserdeus Nabiscum. Carl Jenkins, of course, the composer of The Armed Man. To hear more, I had a chat with choir director, the ever-cheerful Mandy Griffin, who told me it wasn't the first time the choir had performed the Jenkins work.
It's been performed twice by the Isle of Man Choral Society. Yeah. The first time was with Pam Duchar's in, I think it was 2004. Certainly one of the first things I did with the Choral Society as a singer when I moved back to the island. And then again in 2014 under Julian Power. So it's been twice in the last sort of 22 years. And then the third time we're doing it again this year.
A popular piece. I have to say, sometimes I speak to people and it seems a Marmite piece. People sometimes absolutely love it and other people say, oh, I don't know. Where are you on that spectrum? Are you a great fan of it?
I'm a huge fan of it. I find it extraordinarily moving, even when I'm just listening to it. Even now when I'm listening to it all the time because I'm working on it with the choir, but also getting ready to rehearse with the orchestra and so doing lots of score study. And it brings me to tears. I find the message so powerful. The music is powerful. The texts are powerful in it as well. But you're right. Some people really don't like it at all. So it's an interesting piece. I think it's a good thing when music can cause a reaction in people, absolutely, whether it's a positive or a negative reaction.
Well, I think that's the power of music, isn't it? And I suppose if it causes no reaction, then you think, well, it's probably not very good music.
Yeah, I think so. Just a bit of background to have on. That's not the case with
No,
this.
Definitely not. How have the choir been handling it? Because, as you say, it is an emotional piece.
It's been fine, actually. There have been a few movements in it which have been more difficult to rehearse than others just because the imagery is so vivid. There's one movement in particular called Torches where I'd put off rehearsing it with the choir because I find it quite difficult. I find the imagery is quite horrific. The work doesn't shy away from the horrors of war, which I think is one of the reasons why it's so powerful. But the choir have been doing really, really well with it, actually. Some people have sung it before, some people have never sang it before, and I think it's people are really behind it, really looking forward to bringing this to audiences in a couple of weeks.
And I suppose now this is where the hard work, I know there's been lots of hard work going on already, but now I assume you have to bring in the orchestra at some stage and have time to rehearse with the orchestra.
I've had one rehearsal with the orchestra already. I'm seeing just the orchestra tomorrow, and then the first rehearsal with the choir and orchestra is happening this Saturday. That's always exciting, bringing it together.
Nerve-wracking?
Nerve-wracking for me. A little bit nerve-wracking for the choir, I think, because it's suddenly a very different sound than you've heard with the piano, and the trumpets might be providing the sound, or the cellos might be providing the sound, and just hearing that can throw the choir a little bit. So it'll be good to do our first rehearsal. Also, really exciting for the choir as well to hear this. It's a big orchestra. It's a big orchestral sound. We've got about 65 players, I think, in the orchestra, including a 5-person percussion section.
Wow.
All of the percussion toys are coming out. We've got gongs, we've got 2 drum kits, we've got timpani, we've got bells, everything is going to be there. So it'll be really, really a sensory experience all round, I think.
And is it difficult to get a balance when you bring the orchestra in? As you say, you've got a large orchestra, a large choir. Is it difficult to get the balance of the sound right between the two?
It can be tricky. It can be tricky because the orchestra are used to playing themselves. And so sometimes I find I'm asking them just to play down a little bit, even when they might have a loud dynamic, a strong dynamic written in their music. Sometimes we have to ask them just to bring it down a bit because the choir are behind them. And even though there are more in the choir, there are over 100 in the choir, sort of every person's just got 2 tiny vocal cords, and that can't compete with the might of the brass or the woodwind section or sort of 35 string players. So sometimes it can be a tricky balancing act. We can't really work that out till we're in the villa, which is just before the concert, because you don't quite know till you're in there in that space how it's all going to work out.
A very famous piece, of course, and Carl Jenkins, known, you were mentioning this, sort of lots of percussion, perhaps coming back to his rock background, and, he was a rocker before he became into the classical world. Another piece, of course, along with the Armed Man, maybe not so well known to people, which is Misedeus Nabiscum by Philip Stopford. This is a relatively modern piece?
It is. It had its world premiere in 2019. I think the music was published to be available to be sung in 2021. Philip is he's an extraordinary choral composer. He's written lots of shorter choral works, which are very popular with choirs throughout Britain, in America, throughout the world, really. And I love his music, and I was actually listening to, not really with a view for the Choral Society, I was singing somewhere else and we were doing one of his pieces. And you go on YouTube and it brings up other works by the same composer or the same person you're listening to. And the Misedeus Nabiscum came up. And I thought, wow, this is just under half an hour. We could do with something to go alongside The Armed Man. Had a listen to it and I fell in love with it immediately. Just glorious, lush harmonies. It's like a balm for the soul. He writes beautifully for choirs, and the choir are loving singing it as well. So we're going to start our programme with that. That's going to be the first piece, the Misedeus Nabiscum. And very excitingly, hopefully, fingers crossed, EasyJet allowing, Philip's going to be coming.
I had heard that on the grapevine.
Yeah.
No pressure then?
No pressure, no. He conducts a choral society in Berkshire, and they have their concert the night before. So he's just coming on the morning. It'll be great. It'll be great if he can be here. And of course, there's an Isle of Man connection. There always are Isle of Man connections, which I didn't know about. But his aunt and uncle used to live in Port St Mary. His uncle was a vicar in Port St Mary. So his cousins grew up here. He visited the Isle of Man when he was a child. So it's lovely that that's tying in as well.
Oh, that's terrific. So, yeah, very exciting news that him coming across as well. And the 2 pieces, as you say, I suppose that's the other thing when you're putting a programme together, having 2 pieces which complement each other.
Yeah, they really do. And it's something to think about. What will the choir enjoy singing, but also from an audience perspective as well. And I think there's definitely contrast, although they're both by living British composers. There's a big contrast in what's happening with them and what the audiences will be listening to.
And is the Misedeus accessible for those who perhaps aren't regular concert goers?
Oh my goodness, yes, it really is. It's got beautiful melodies. It's one of those works you sort of come away humming it even after just hearing it for the first time. I think if anyone's heard any of Philip's choral music, they'll know that sort of melody is a real thing that he excels at. So yes, it's very accessible.
Is it difficult sort of working with the choir and sort of trying to keep enthusiasm up over the weeks? Because it's a long rehearsal process, isn't it, sort of going through it, and then, like I say, you just get to this last 2 weeks and suddenly the orchestra comes in and it's all there. But is it tricky working through the months and keeping that enthusiasm going, or because again, make it too easy, people get bored, make it too hard, then they think, oh, I can't do this.
It is tricky, and especially we rehearse every once a fortnight, so sometimes you sort of have your rehearsal, everything's great, and then you sort of miss a week and then you have another week, and so sometimes the momentum can be tricky to keep going, and then Christmas comes in the middle of it as well, and there's sort of about 5 weeks off over Christmas, and but actually I think that works quite well, and then we get to January and suddenly the concert seems closer, and excitement starts to build, and we start adding in extra little rehearsals at the weekends so we can build momentum through. And we actually had a great rehearsal this Sunday where we just sang through everything, just sort of 3 weeks out from the concert, just to see where we're at and can we sing through all of the works at this stage, and the choir did, and it was really good, and I think that's given everyone a real boost before we now get to the really serious business end of things.
Of putting together, and of course we should say, we've spoken about this before, just getting together with people to sing. I mean, obviously it makes a lovely noise, it's very satisfying, but it's really good for the soul and the mind as well, isn't it?
It really is. We've spoken before about the known health benefits of singing and singing together in a choir. I'm not sure whether you're the musical director and feeling a bit stressed at this point, whether there are known health benefits. I suspect my blood pressure may be rising round about now. But hopefully for the choir members, it's still a lovely thing as we come on into the concert.
29th of March it is then. It is at the Villa Marina, and we should say it's afternoon, of course, not evening, it's afternoon, so you can, you don't, if you're busy that evening, doesn't matter, you can get there in the afternoon.
3 o'clock start. Doors open at 2 p.m. Tickets available from the Villa Gaiety website, or you can telephone the Villa Gaiety. Their tickets are selling well, but there are still some really good seats left, so don't hold off booking. Do get in to get those good seats.
Absolutely. And if you've never been before to something like this is a great thing to go along to, because, some people think, oh, it might not be my bag, but you know what? You should go and experience it, because there's nothing like hearing a choir and a full orchestra together if you've never done it before.
This is right. I was thinking about this just this morning. Everything is so accessible to us now, and people could just listen to the Armed Man or the Misedeus Nobiscum just by pressing a click on their phone, but it's not the same as being in a space, being with a choir of over 100 people, being with an orchestra of 65. If you've not experienced it before, there's nothing like the thrill of that, and hearing that sound live, hearing the orchestra tuning up, hearing the choir singing together. So do come along.
And just finally, I'm jumping the gun here a bit, because I'm sure it's a case of, get this one done, have a nice gin and tonic. Do you plan ahead already at this stage for the next idea, or do you just have thoughts in the head, or how does that work?
Thoughts in the head. I've got serious thoughts in the head for what our next season might be. When we finish this year, I will meet with the committee. We sort of have a debrief, and then I put to them my thoughts and suggestions for what possibly we may do next year, and they will agree with that or not agree with that. Hopefully they will. Usually they do. So plans are already afoot for next year, but there will be time for a nice gin and tonic, probably sometime around about 5:30 on the afternoon of the 29th of March. You'll see me with one in my hand.
She's looking forward to that gin. Get your tickets now for what promises to be a wonderful afternoon's music. I will definitely be there, with the Bishop, I think. These things are incredibly difficult and complex to stage, so do go along and support them if you can. You certainly won't regret it. Finally this evening, are you a lapsed horn player, or even a lapsed percussionist? Someone who used to love playing but then stopped for whatever reason and just never got back to it? Well, Castletown Metropolitan Silver Band want you. The band are having a recruitment drive and are targeting lapsed players, encouraging them to get back in the swing of banding with a happy group of like-minded souls, and have made a Facebook video to encourage old, or at least lapsed banders out of the woodwork.
Remember this sound? If you ever played a brass instrument, cornet, trombone, horn, euphonium, bass, or even percussion, this might be for you. School ended, work happened, life got busy. Instruments went into cupboards, attics, under beds, back to the band even. And that's okay. But here's the thing. You don't stop being a musician just because you took a break. Here at Castletown Metropolitan Silver Band, we're not professionals. We're not perfect. We're just a group of people who love making music together. No auditions, no judgment, no pressure to be as good as you used to be. If you can play a few notes, you're in. If you're rusty, we've all been there. If you're nervous, trust us, you won't be the only one. What you will find is a reason to pick up your instrument again. A room full of people rooting for you. Laughs and the occasional wrong note. And that feeling when the band comes together and the music lifts. So if your brass instrument is still hanging around somewhere, maybe it's time to dust it off. Or if you sold it, lost it, loaned it to someone and never saw it again, then we can provide one. Come play with us. Come and belong. Come and make a bit of noise again. We've saved you a seat.
Go on. There's no time like the present to get your horn out again and get blowing, as they say. And just like the previous sentence, it's almost guaranteed to put a smile on your face. If you're inspired, contact the Secretary, Simon Court, on secretary@castletownband, all one word, .im. That's about it for now. See you next week when we'll be hearing from another local actor and musician who's gone on to appear in the West End, teach at prestigious theatre schools. He's also musical director for P&O Cruises, Jonathan Io. See you then. In the meantime, be good. Whatever you're doing, be creative about it. Himu.